Okie dokie. Good morning, start again. Hello everyone, thank you for taking a look at this video. The purpose of this video is to provide an information update for the customers in the Campaspe water system. We came out to you earlier in this year, in July, to talk about some potential restrictions on water availability. Since that time we've seen a lot of rainfall, so we're taking the opportunity here to provide you with a bit of a briefing about what has changed since then. So over the course of this short video, I'll just talk about some of the things that have occurred since then, what the conditions are now, what has changed, and also what this means for customers in the Campaspe system. So, as I mentioned, at the start of July this year, the water resources in the Campaspe system were looking a bit dire, particularly for customers in the regulated water system and also in the unregulated water systems, where we weren't able to guarantee that water supply would last for the whole year without some interventions on the part of Golden Murray Water in partnership with other agencies. Since that time there has been a lot of rain, which has turned things around significantly, and we wanted to update you about what has changed since that time and talk about some of the things that may be of interest to you. So in terms of the Campaspe system, when we're talking about water availability, we consider three different aspects. One is the regulated water systems, so the water controlled by Lake Epilock and affecting the Campaspe River. The unregulated systems are those tributaries to the Campaspe River which don't have a dam controlling their flows, and also groundwater, and in particular the lower Campaspe Valley water supply protection area. At the start of the 2016-17 water year, all of the systems started out with very low resources. Even though it had rained for a couple of months prior to that, we didn't see much in the way of water available for seasonal determinations, and in the case of the smaller systems, the Broken, the Campaspe, Loddon and Bullarook, there was very little water available in those systems. Since that time we've seen some significant changes, and the Campaspe has seen some of the largest changes that has occurred. From going from a zero starting allocation on the 1st of July through to the most recent allocation on the 15th of September, it's now hit 100% of high reliability water shares, which is a very significant turnaround, and we're currently putting water aside to try and get to low reliability water shares this year. In the unregulated streams, at the start of the year we had some very significant restrictions on water availability, and as you can see there was only one stream in the Campaspe system that didn't have a suspension upon it. So in the time that has passed, in about 3 months, we've seen all of those streams have their restrictions lifted, and customers have no barriers to, well, they can only operate within their licence of course, but we see that there is no restrictions or rostering applying to any of those customers now. Again, a tremendous outcome for those customers in terms of what they were potentially facing at the start of the year. In terms of groundwater, as I mentioned right at the start of the presentation, groundwater is pretty much managed under the terms of the lower Campaspe Valley Water Supply Protection Area Groundwater Management Plan. Earlier this year we were able to announce our 100% allocation this season, so that's no change from where we were at the start of the year. Generally we find that the groundwater it lags the behaviour of the surface water. So it was still highly available at the start of the year, and with the recharge events that we've seen since so far with the rainfall, we're likely to see that becoming available early next year as well. In terms of what's changed across the year, well, obviously it's been driven by rainfall, but just to illustrate the change, this is the Lake Epilock volume starting from 2007, where we were in the Millennium Drought, and then we saw a rapid recovery pretty much through 2010, 2011, to a point where we actually had a very significant event in January 2011. Since that time there's been a couple of minor recoveries, but over the last 2 to 3 years we've seen a very strong drawdown in Lake Epilock. In the last month and a bit, we've actually seen very strong recovery to the point where Epiloc's above 85% of capacity today. That's a great outcome, and that's really driving the higher allocation that we're currently seeing. With further rainfall forecast, it's quite possible that we'll fill Lake Epiloc to capacity this year. Just comparing that in terms of the resource breakdown for the regulated system. At the start of this water year, we didn't have enough water in store and enough water flowing into Lake Epiloc to be able to make an allocation available, once we took into account all the different components that make up an allocation. Since that time, we've seen significant improvement, and bearing in mind this is the 15th of September, which was the most recent allocation. Since that time we've had significant rainfall events during that week, which has actually put more resource in beyond the 110, so we'll actually see a change occurring on the 3rd of October, which is the next seasonal determination announcement for the broken system. The other way in which we can look at what the changes have been is to compare what happened in 2015-16, which was only 6.7 gigalitres of inflow for the entire year. Compare that with 2.8 gigalitres that occurred in June 2016. So we can see that approximately half of all the inflow that occurred in the 15-16 year occurred in 1 month. Now, that trend had been occurring at the start of the year, so we were hopeful that that was going to continue. And it certainly has through July and August so far this year, which are the 2 completed months that we've had to date. So in July, there was for the year so far, we've had 67 gigalitres flow in, and in August, we'd had 39 gigalitres flow in. If we look at the year to date, we're still seeing a probability of exceedance of 36%, which means that we'd have wetter conditions in only 36 years out of 100. Which is a significant turnaround from what we'd seen where we were in the high 90s only a few months ago. In terms of the climate outlook, we've certainly been exceeding the median rainfall and the average rainfall for the past few months, since May. That's projected to continue through until at least November. The Bureau of Meteorology will be updating this shortly to provide us with the October through to December rainfall outlook. But the encouraging information that we've had from here is that it's certainly matched what was projected in September and is likely to continue for the next few months. In terms of what's been actually influencing climate, it's really been driven by the Indian Ocean and a measure of sea surface temperatures called the Indian Ocean Dipole, which the Bureau of Meteorology uses as a climate indicator. At the moment, the dipole is negative, but weakening. But a negative dipole basically means it'll bring above average winter-spring rainfall across much of Australia. And that's to do with more moisture being made available through sea surface temperatures. It's likely that that will continue through to the end of spring, although the Bureau of Meteorology is indicating that with its weakening, it is likely to break down sooner rather than later. The other influence, which I've termed here El Niño or La Nina, it's really referring to pressure differences out in the Pacific Ocean, which can influence rainfall behaviour off the east coast of Australia, I should say. We haven't had a La Nina form this year, and the Bureau of Meteorology is indicating that a La Nina won't form. But neutral conditions have been dominating out there, and neutral conditions basically reinforce the impacts of the Indian Ocean Dipole. So if we'd had an El Niño event, which is usually drier, it would have counteracted the Indian Ocean Dipole and brought different conditions to what we've seen so far. Thankfully, the Bureau is indicating that those neutral conditions are more likely to persist for the next few months. In terms of what this information means for customers, effectively it means that our operations are low risk for the rest of this season. The system will run for the entire year, and where we were talking about the potential for some restrictions on carryover delivery potentially at the start of the year, we're saying that is not going to be the case. We're now into the point where we're generating operating reserves for 2017-18, which is something we were unable to do, I should say, in the 2015-16 year, and which contributed to the low opening seasonal allocations. So that's indicating both for the regulated system customers but also our unregulated system customers that we've got much better flowing conditions. Water is actually flowing through the catchments, and we should find that we won't have anywhere near the restrictions on availability that we've seen in the past 12 months, and we hopefully won't see again for another couple of years at least. Now, in terms of resource manager information and the resources, for the regulated system, the seasonal determination assessments are updated on the 1st and the 15th of each month. The next assessment will be done on Monday the 3rd of October, and we'll continue doing those assessments twice a month until all seasonal determinations are 100% of high reliability water shares across all of the 6 systems that we announced for. In terms of further information about either operations or resource availability, please refer to the Golden Murray Water or to the Northern Victorian Resource Manager website as indicated here, or by all means speak to your local customer service coordinator or diversions inspector as required. If you've got any feedback for Golden Murray Water at any time, including the Resource Manager roles, which Golden Murray Water fulfils, please contact us at using the email here, reception@gmwater.com.au. Thank you very much, and best wishes for the rest of the year.